CSG stands for Constructive Solid Geometry, and there are a few little things that you can use to save you a lot of time when you're mapping. Progress isn't made by early risers. It's made by lazy men trying to find easier ways to do something. That's a quote by Robert A. Heinlein, and it's something that is apparent everywhere in the mod tools. So in this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to save time using some of the tools in the mod tools that will help you. So these are the CSG tools, and it's a set of tools that allow you to work with brushes in a much easier way. It improves how you might do things. So here are some examples here. The first thing I might tell you is, okay, well, the first thing I'm going to get you to do is, what is the difference between these set of brushes and these set of brushes? And you're probably thinking, okay, give me a second, I'm going to outsmart you. I know exactly what the difference is. But you're probably going to be wrong, unless you're smart. And then maybe you already know this. I don't know. You tell me. I don't know. Right. The difference is you can't see the difference. The difference is on the inside. We go on the inside of this one, boom, everything goes invisible. We go on the inside of this one, we just see all these different textures everywhere. Because if we get out of the game view and we look at this on the inside, it has been corked on the inside, and I didn't cork that manually. I corked it using a feature called auto-caulk, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do in this tutorial, along with the other CSG tools that you can get here by going to Selection, CSG. We've got Csg Hollow, Csg Merge, Csg Subtract, and auto-caulk, and I'm going to walk through what they do. So the auto-caulk, as you can see here, I'm going to hide one of these, has automatically caulked all the edges on the surface of a brush that you don't see, that don't get rendered, and it knows this because it will see if there are two faces touching each other, and if any of the light is being bounced onto that surface, then it won't do it, and if there isn't any light being bounced on that surface, then it will caulk it. And to caulk something like that, if I just show you this one, I'm going to hide one here, you can see that these aren't caulked. What you do is you literally just select all the things that you want to auto-caulk, or if you want to auto-caulk your whole map, you could press I, but I wouldn't recommend doing that because it might freeze your computer if there are too many things selected. And then you just press Alt-C. The alternative is to go to Selection, click on CSG, and then click on auto-caulk. And you might not see anything that's happened, but if we hide one of these, you'll see that it has caulked all the surfaces. It hasn't caulked these two because when we hit it just then, these surfaces here were actually visible to the light, so it didn't caulk it. If we unhide it and then we go again and we'll caulk it again, Alt-C, and now when we hide this, you'll see that these edges have been caulked. This is a very handy tool that will save you a lot of time going around caulking when you necessarily don't need to spend that manually. The only times that you would manually go around and caulk on top of this is surfaces like underneath where, okay, well, there is light being reflected around there, but players won't go around there, so you will want to caulk that. So if we did Alt-C on this, you see it doesn't do anything, but players aren't going to see the side of it, they're not going to see underneath it, so you'd want to manually caulk those edges. The next thing that I'm going to show you to do with these bricks is well, okay, these bricks, you might think, why are they all like textured differently? You got light colored bricks here, and then you got orange bricks here. What's going on? Well, this is just to show you so you can visually see the next tool, which I'm going to show you, is the CSG Merge. And the CSG Merge tool allows you to merge multiple brushes together that have the same properties, the same lines lining up to them. If we try and merge these brushes here, it won't do anything. Let's go here and do CSG Merge. Nothing happens. There is a shortcut as well, Control U. You see here, it says here, Control U. Nothing happens. You know, it doesn't merge these brushes, they're still individual. But say we merge this one and this one, Control U, it turns it into one brush. It's going to be very handy when you're going around and you're making geometry and you're copying and pasting parts together to create something custom, and then all of a sudden, you know, there's a whole row of these things that are lined up next to each other, but you don't need multiple, you only need one. It will create it into one brush. The next thing you would have noticed is, oh, okay, well, it's basically is textured and the same. Yeah, because you can't give a single brush brush face different textures. Although yes, you can blend them, and that is including terrain patches on top of it. To texture the single face of a brush, it's got to be one texture, and it will always pick the last face that you chose to texture it. So that time I picked the light colored one last, and you'll see that it then it applied the light color to both of them, or aka the whole thing. And this case will pick the orange one last. You can actually select multiple, and it created one there, and we'll see here it will create one there. But it will never merge these together because the edges of the lines here do not line up. If we moved it across a bit and then lined it up, boom, it's created a single wall. And that's what the CSG Merge is all about, which is pretty handy. But you might not always find many uses for it, but it does help. It helps having to delete something and stretch it out when you can quickly just select them and hit Control U. And the way I remember it is Unity, or in unison. Like, that's I think why it's Control U, because yeah, it combines things together, it holds them together, aka merge. And I guess Control M must be taken up by something else. We could search here by pressing Control K and then type in the command Control M and just see why it's already taken up. It's taken up as the map info, so that's already been used. Otherwise they probably would have given it the Control M hotkey. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show you is the next one, which is the, let's see, the subtract or the hollow. We better just show you the hollow one first, I guess. Let's do that. So I'm going to create a little box here, and let's put this to the ground, and let's just say we're making a little house here, and we want to hollow it out so that we have 4 walls. Well, making a house, you might think, I'm just going to extend this floor out a little bit so we've got a bit more space. You might think, oh, okay, well, you want to make a house? Let's press 5 on the keyboard and we'll start dragging some walls out. And okay, let's drag that up, and we'll drag it up this way, or you might want to drag it up in the grid view. And then you think, okay, well, we got that wall, we can copy that wall, then we can start rotating it around. Or maybe you don't want to rotate it around, you just want to grab it and place it over here. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe you want to just draw a wall on here. All these things are possible, and you can start building a house just by drawing in the grid view there. Or what you might want to do is do it in one go. So if we just create one brush here, but we know that we want 4 walls, you can use the CSG Hollow. So we go over to the selection and go to the CSG Hollow. It will cut the brush and make it hollow. If we just hide one of these walls so you can see that it has turned it into 6 individual brushes. Although they overlap, and you're going to want to either shrink a few of the walls down. When I use CSG Hollow, what I'll do is I'll go in there, I'm just going to hit Shift J so you can see a tint on the walls that are selected. I'll just select all the walls on the inside, and then I will drag them down like this, and then I usually just delete the floor. And then I'll go above and select 2 walls, and just basically shorten these down so that they are not going through the other walls, and then that way we have brushes that aren't intersecting. The other way is to say that we didn't do it that way, is to grab these 2 walls and then to cut using holding Control and right clicking in 2 places and then hitting Shift Enter. And if we deselect the pieces we want to keep, you'll see that we cut the wall at a nice 45-degree angle there. So that is one way of doing it, and neither way is wrong. It's however you feel like making a house is a good way to do it. But say we want to create a window. A lot of you might go, I know how to do that. I'm going to go cut it. So we're going to go put a cut in here. We're going to go put a cut in here. Or you might be wanting to make a doorway, for example. Just say we want to make a window. We want to put a cut in here. And then we can drag this up, drag this down, and then put in a fancy model, for example. We'll just put a little pane of glass in there or something, just for a quick example. And then you have your fancy window. But that took quite a few actions, and there is a much quicker way of making a window. If I Control Z and bring it back so we haven't cut this wall yet. And one thing I'd like to just say now is this tool that I'm about to show you, the CSG Subtract, does have some issues with it, but I'm going to show you exactly how we get around these issues in just a moment. If we draw a little brush in the shape of the window, that's all you need to do. There we go, so we want to put a window there, and then while you have this selected, if you go to Selection, CSG Subtract, this is the problem. This is an error that happens. It will create brushes around, basically in the shape of your the umbra volume here, and it doesn't seem right. If you've got a massive map, this can wreak havoc in your map, and you might be like, oh god, I don't want to use this tool, you know, I don't see why I should use this. In a lot of cases, yeah, it is quicker to cut things down, but some cases you might want to just use the subtract tool if you're doing a whole load of things at once, and this is how you get around the problem. Basically, what you want to do is you want to grab all of the textures that, sorry, you want to grab, not textures, you want to grab all of the objects that you're going to be involved in this subtract. So it's just this wall mainly, but for the sake of this chart, I'm just going to, actually, no, yeah, let's just grab these two things. And then you're going to put them in a prefab. So if you go to prefab, scroll the way down, go to save selected as new prefab. I recommend putting this in its own folder. I created a folder, it will put you here. I created a folder called temp. It just stands for temporary things that I don't need to keep. I can delete that folder. Basically, yeah, in this folder, then I'm going to call this one a cut one. You can call it whatever you like. Now it is in a prefab. And you might think, okay, well, we can't interact with it because it's in a prefab. Well, yes, you're going to need to go into the prefab. You right click, go to prefab, enter prefab, and then this is where you'll do the CSG Hollow. If we then select the window piece and go to selection CSG, sorry, I said Hollow, I meant to say subtract. This way you go to do the CSG Subtract, and you'll see straight away, if we delete that, it has cut the window down, or cut the wall and created a window. And there we go, that's how you would do it. You might find that, okay, well, for some reason, let's just go before the cut there. We want to put a whole load of windows in there. We're gonna, I don't know, so have some crazy Art Deco style here. And to do this by manually cutting would take a very long time. So we're going to go selection CSG Subtract, and boom, we have our magical thing here. I'm just going to change the texture to brick so that we don't have to retexture it afterwards. There we go. So we got these all as brick. Hi guys, I'm just going to stop the video here. I accidentally made a mistake in making this tutorial, and I'm going to correct it right now. So when I did the CSG Subtract in this tutorial, I accidentally didn't Alt-Z enough. And so what happened is when I went to change this to brick, and I expected it to basically fill in the edges with brick, I didn't actually reverse the original subtract, so that when I deleted it, the edges were still as glass. What I should have done was Control-Z'd a few more times till this point when the wall is back to its original form, then change these to brick. So basically, when you're using CSG Subtract, you want to set the materials that you're going to be subtracting to the material of the edges that you want. So in this case, it's going to be brick, so I set those to brick. Then when I use selection CSG Subtract and then delete, you'll see that the edges are now filled in with brick. So if you want them something else, the tools that you use to subtract with, you want to set them to something else. But anyway, I'm going to return to the video, and we're going to be fixing the error or the problem a different way. What you could do is you could select everything here, and one way of doing that is, yeah, you can, you know, a lot of people know about drawing a brush around it, right clicking, and then doing select inside. That is one way of selecting everything, but I'm going to show you an even quicker way, shown to me by James Wallace, and thank you for this little tip. Basically, if you hold shift and hold alt, and you can draw in the grid view, that's I believe it's called a Marquee Select. It allows you to quickly grab something in the grid view just by highlighting a region. If you see in the grid view, you might see that it's drawing a blue box. Anything in that blue box will be selected and added to the selection. So that is one way of doing it, and then I'm just going to apply that different texture, and boom, we have a cool Art Deco wall. And yeah, that's just one way of using this tool. We can save that prefab and then leave prefab, and then if you grab this prefab now, and you can just stamp it. If you don't have that hotkey there, you might want to go check out the hotkey tutorial that I made, or if you don't have that hotkey, you can just right click and do prefab, stamp prefab. So yeah, that's how you use subtract, that's how you use the Hollow tool, and you can use it to quickly make a crazy sort of structure like this thing here. Let's quickly throw this, make something little. I can't even speak right now. Let's make something crazy and cool really quickly together so I can show you what I mean. Here we go with a roof. I wouldn't intend to do this usually with a roof, but it demonstrates my example here. If we grab this part of roof here, and we'll just draw it up a little bit, and we're going to copy paste, and I'm going to rotate it round to a 45-degree angle. There we go. And I'm just going to bring it to the edge there. I'm going to copy paste, and then I'm going to flip it on the y-axis, no, the x-axis. There we go, and bring this around here. So we now have these parts, and we want to select these. We can then do a selection, CSG subtract. You can see that it's not working there. It's drawing a whole load of crazy stuff. We undo that. One thing I would recommend to you guys is before you start using CSG subtract in your map itself, I would recommend backing up your map, just because of the amount of times it might error out. But if we select this roof and we quickly just do prefab, select it as new prefab, and call it cut 2, and then I'm going to go into prefab and basically grab these two, do a selection, CSG subtract, and then we can delete these. There we go. We can then do save and then leave this prefab, and then we just made a quick little roof there. That isn't one way of doing it. That isn't the way I would make a roof, but it is a way of making a roof. So we lift this up, and we're just going to stamp prefab there. So we got a brush we can work with. I'm going to drag it down. We want to make a room in there. That's a perfect time to use the Hollow tool. So let's go in there. I'm just going to create it with a wall like this, and use that selection CSG Hollow. Sorry, not Hollow. Undo that. This is a perfect time to use that subtract. So let's do this. Selection CSG subtract. And oh, it's gone and made that crazy thing again. Yeah, a lot of times you will find that when you're making things, it will mess up. So you do want to make them inside of a prefab. I'm going to grab all of this house and this floor, and we're just going to go and put it in a prefab here. So it's selected as a crazy house will do. And we go here, prefab, and prefab. And then we're going to create a little room in there. So I'm just going to grab this brush, go like this. Actually, we've already got a brush in there. Yeah, we have. Okay, so let's just select that brush, and then we're going to do selection CSG subtract, which we've just turned that room into a real room. And then we want to make some windows. We're going to have some opposing windows here. So we'll just pull it through the edges, and there we go. So we want the window to be a bit like that. Then we can do the subtract again. So CSG subtract, and say we probably want, I don't know, a door on this side here. So what we're going to do is we're going to have that coming down to the floor there, and just going to lift it up a little bit and do selection CSG subtract, and there we go. We got this crazy thing that we've just made with just a few little movements here. This wall here is intersecting there because we undid that change. We're just going to drag that down a little bit. There we go. So there you go, you've got some crazy things you can do. You might find as you're mapping, there are certain times you'd want to use these tools over other times, and it can save you a lot of time, especially if you want to make a crazy sort of Art Deco style cuts in this wall here. Then yeah, to make all these cuts yourself would take considerably longer time than just quickly copy and pasting a few holes and using a subtract tool. You can see that we're using it in this prefab here. Just save, get out of the prefab, and then you can grab that prefab, stamp, and then boom, we have it back in the map. So yeah, definitely check these tools out. Don't forget with the subtract tool that there is a problem. If you have too many things in your map that you're working with and you start using the subtract tool, it can interfere and start creating brushes everywhere. So just back up your map if you're going to be using that tool, or work inside of a prefab. Other than that, I hope, yeah, this should save a whole load of time. Should be able to make some really cool stuff with this, and I hope you learned a few things. If you have learned anything, let me know in the comments down below if this helped you out, and if you want to know anything else to do with mapping, just let me know in the comments. Don't forget to smash a like, guys, and yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Just before you go, guys, I'll show you one of the best uses for the Hollow tool. One of the reasons I always use it on every map is to fix up the sky box. Right, this is not to be confused with the sun volume. This is the actual box that will, yeah, the blue box around your map basically. So when you're done creating your map, what I would do is I would delete most of the faces apart from one of them, and then when you have one face left of the skybox, is to put this around your map, and you want to have this as small as possible in your map, and just be wary that if it goes through anything, it will be cutting it and leaving some holes. So yeah, it will de-render anything that is touching this box. So we need to hollow it, and I always use grid 32. You can use grid 8 or 16, and yeah, I just press 6 on the keyboard to set it to this, and then when you have it to a relatively appropriate size, then you want to use the selection Csg Hollow, and boom, there you go. When you render the map, you have set up the sky as well as you should. I just want to thank Zero for reminding me on that one, because I almost forgot to put it in this almost forgot to put it in this tutorial. So thank you for that, man. Appreciate it. And yeah, he said that you can use either grid 8 or 16, but I'll just use 32 because that's what it came with in the tutorial map. So yeah, have a blessed one, everyone. Take it easy, stay freezy. Catch you on the next one. Right, see you.